The cloud. Okay, good evening, everybody. Good to see your faces. I feel like it's been forever. Has it been forever since we've met like this? It really has. Can you believe it's a week of Thanksgiving? Oh, goodness gracious. What a beautiful thing, right? It's always a good week to reflect, and it's always a great time to be around family. So I love that aspect of it. Really kind of puts your mentality back in check. So without further ado, we're going to get this started. Vicki, we're going to have a lot of people sharing tonight about things that they experienced over the weekend. And Vicki got to experience Cassie Teal in Omaha. And I know many of us here in Idaho know the power of Cassie. She's so dynamic and she's so full of passion. Like, it's impossible not to feel excited when you're around her. And Vicki said to me, she's like, it's one of the best Super Saturdays she's ever had, ever experienced. So I wanted her first to kick off this by just sharing some of the exercises she said that Cassie shared with them that she could share with us as well. So without further ado, Vicki, let's hear it, sister.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, Cassie, what I love about her is her no BS, no nonsense. One of her quotes at the very end that I wrote, and her face turned red when someone shared this, but she said, "You can bitch or you can build." It's like, that's typical Cassie. Just puts it out there like it is. But a couple of the things she said was, and she would do these things with us, and then she would give us a few minutes to think about them and to write them down. So one of them she said is, right now I want you to think of the 5 people that you want by your side through this business. And she didn't move on until we wrote down these names. So that was kind of cool because it's cool to see on a piece of paper. I guess I've had it in my head before, like the people that I would love to take along on this, but I've never like looked at my list and narrowed it down and said, if I could choose out of all these people, this is who I'd like to take with me. So that was a cool one. But another one she did, and you know, I know that I've heard some of these things before, and it reinforced to me the power of going to a training every single time there is one, whether you think you've heard it all before or, you know, people will say, I don't feel like I need to go because, you know, been there, done that. Well, this wasn't a corporate Super Saturday training. This was like her own thing. She is looking to build Omaha. She has a lot of her team in Omaha, but then she's looking to help all of us, even those not on her team. So this was kind of her own thing, and she like I said, she said some things that I know I've heard before, but you know how we go through the timing and the seasons in our mind, and I guess these just hit me right this time because I know I've heard them before. So she had us write down wildlife advantage, what do you want to accomplish, who do you want to help, what group of people, who are you looking to help, and how fast do you want to make it happen. And she gave us about 10 minutes to write those things down. And I think I know I've done parts of this exercise before, if not those very things. But like I said, it seemed like it was just the right timing for these to make more sense to me now than they have when I've heard them in the past. But so some powerful things if you write those down, and then but like sit in the quiet and take time to think about it. Why life advantage? Why not, you know, some of the other things that are out there? You know, what do you want to accomplish? Who do you want to help? And how fast do you want to make it happen? And then she said, determine when. So her keywords were why, what, who, and how. And then when are you open for business? And I know I've heard this one before. I've heard them say, you know, set up a schedule. How much time a day are you going to spend on this? You know, how are you going to spend your time? How many days a week? That sort of thing. So determine when you are open for business. And I know I saw some of the GoPro stuff. They put a lot of emphasis on using your calendar. And, you know, making sure that if it's not, I saw a quote, if it's not on your calendar, it's not going to happen, or it's not real, or something like that. So she also talked about, you know, making sure you have it down in writing, you know, what are your hours, when are you open for business? And then what are you willing to sacrifice? And then, so that was one exercise she had us do. Wildlife advantage, what do you want to accomplish? Who do you want to help? How fast do you want to make this happen? When are you open for business, and what are you willing to sacrifice? Then she had us make a list of 5 things. She had us write down these 5 things: the health freaks, the business minded, the financially savvy, the network marketers, and people who need the products or the money. And then she said, you go through your database and you mark next to each one of those, like make a code, put HF for health freak, BM for business minded, FS for financial savvy, and go down your entire list, and then take, someone from each of those categories and, decide if in your, when you are open for business, your 30 minutes a day or hour a day, if you have decided you'll contact 3 people or 5 people, then, if you say 5 people, then pick one from each of those categories, and that's who you contact, on that day. So she gave us categories to write next to the person on the database. And like I said, I know I've heard these things before. I think it doesn't hurt to hear it again, and sometimes it's the timing and where you are in your head with it. And I guess she hit me just right with it this time, because that's what I've been spending my time tonight doing, is going through the database and putting a code next to each person of which category they're in. So I don't know. I just thought she just, like I said, was no nonsense, no BS, keeping it real. There's no excuses. This is totally up to you. You can do it or you cannot. You just have to decide. So,
thank you for sharing, Vicki. I think that's so important. It's probably something we should do like every 6 months or so, or even when we hit a dry spell, like really ask ourselves those questions again. Why did we choose LifeVantage? What do we want to accomplish? Who do we want to help? What will be our target market, and how fast do we want to do it? It's easy to do it when you first get in, and then you lose sight of it and you lose track of it, and you just kind of start going through the motions because we start overthinking it. So I think that's a great exercise that we should all do again. So thank you for sharing. Appreciate it. Okay, and then we had an amazing group of ladies that went to GoPro in Vegas. I asked some of them to share tonight. Colleen, I'm going to start with you if that's okay. Got you at the top of my screen. I would love for you to share with us some of your biggest takeaways from Eric Worre's GoPro event this week. And I know there were over 10,000 people there, it sounds like.
Yes, there was. It was a group full. We were at the convention center, or as we commonly refer to it as the Antarctic. It was a little chilly in there. Awfully cold. You guys, there were so many fantastic speakers, and as I was going through my notes, Eric Worre says at the very beginning, with every single speaker, highlight one thing that really hits you, that you really want to take away, that you just, it makes an impact for you. And, I started going through my notes and writing down those things, and I thought, wow, I mean, if we just stuck to those highlighted things, and even at that, it's still like, wow, so much information. But, there were fantastic ones, and I'll just kind of give you some of them that really, stuck with me. One of the speakers early on that Eric had on said, people want to follow people who know where they're going. So if we're wishy-washy and we're not sure how we're doing or what we're doing with this business, and we kind of do it here and there, people aren't going to want to follow that. If they're truly interested in changing their lives and doing a business and having a new opportunity, we have to show them this is the way we're going, and be that person. They want to follow you. And then the other one that I thought was really interesting, Elliot Rowe, that David that first one. But Elliot Rowe, his was, our fear is simply protecting our ego. When we don't make a sell, we're basically sabotaging ourselves. So when fear comes up, that's basically our own ego protecting us from getting out of our comfort zone, from getting out and not having our feelings hurt. Like someone says, oh, I don't want to do that pill, or, or I want to get off it now because it didn't work, or whatever the case may be. And we kind of get that fear. So I started thinking about it today, because the other thing he said was, what are you doing to fail. And I was like, if we all sat right now and wrote down what we're doing to fail, I bet we could have a nice little list. You know, turning on the TV, staying in bed, jumping on emails instead of doing other things first thing in the morning to start your day out. That was really interesting. I was like, yeah, very convicting. So what are we doing to fail? Not necessarily what are we doing to protect. Tony Robbins was fantastic. As always, I would pay the money to see him for 3 hours. He just, for me, is so dynamic, and I love every second of him. Charisma is energy. You know, how are you presenting yourself? Get your energy from your mindset. Get your energy from your mindset. And he's told the story before, where you focus is where you'll go. And he talked about a story of him getting in a race car and actually driving it, and having to do it over and over to get it right, because he wouldn't continue on focusing on where he needed to go. He kept focusing on the wall he was going to crash into. So wherever we focus, you guys, that's where we're going to go. So every day we have to focus. We can't just say, oh, today, you know, I've got other things to do. We've got to focus on it every day. Pitbull is fantastic. I love having a little mini concert, you know, me, the dancer I am. totally enjoyed that. Here's something, this is so cool. And then I won't say anymore because other people have notes too. But what is the biggest room in the world, you guys? Think about that for a second. What is the biggest room in the world? And he said, room for improvement. Yeah, I thought that was really powerful. And everyone in the whole audience went, oh. So, I mean, that was a really impactful statement. So those things, I think, along with many others that I wrote down, but just my highlights were fantastic. So what they say about events pushing you forward and making or breaking is a big deal. And this was one of the events that I've already signed up for next year. Good event, you guys.
Thanks, Colleen. That was awesome.
You're welcome.
Powerful. The room for improvement. Bam. Doesn't suck.
I know, right?
Yeah. All right then.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go to Candy next. Candy, I would love to hear from you. I have you unmuted. Share with us some of your takeaways from the amazing weekend in Vegas.
Well, first of all, I want to say how very grateful and thankful I am that I got to go, because this was not something I necessarily got planned or was in my books, but I'm very thankful. Man, it was an amazing weekend. That is a crazy bunch of women we hang out with. And just, it was incredible. So I'm just going to share you some of my notes. It's hard to just pick out a few because it seems like each little nugget from each different speaker had something impactful to say. So anyway, and along with Colleen, they talked about keeping your energy and belief high, really high. People want to follow someone who is positive, happy, and full of energy. And even on those days that, because we all go through that, and they even said that, even Tony Robbins said there are days when he doesn't necessarily feel that energy. So he purposely changes that thought process. And so on those days that you don't feel that way, think about why you're doing this business and what your passion is about. He said, dominate your energy. Don't let your energy dominate you. And the other thing that was pushed really hard was think bigger. We have to think bigger. I know we've all heard that so many times, but are we doing it? Are we doing it in our heads? Because the world is not served by you playing small. Commit to growth. And one of Pitbull's quotes was, there is always room for improvement. No matter how much money you make, there is always room for improvement. And that's what keeps you excited about doing things, is knowing that you're going to learn something, you know, or change something about your life. So I will have to say Pitbull was a surprise to me. I like some of his music, so that's all you look at, you know, is when you hear his music. But he was the most humble man. I mean, it even kind of makes me emotional about how humble he is and how giving he wants to be. And he came from a really rough start. So some things he said that really hit home to me. And anyway, I'll just say them. Complacency is the cousin of death. Yeah. The biggest risk you take is not taking it. And failure is the mother of success. And those things really hit home with me. And then, of course, he played music and we got to dance and we all got a little crazy and talk about high energy in that room. My goodness, that was fun. But the main thing I got out of it for me is each time one of the speakers would come up to the room, we'd look up and see what company they came from. Of all the companies represented there, we have the one. Honestly, you guys, we have the one that is going to actually, our products and the company are going to change people's lives in the truest sense, because we have the most incredible products that nobody else has. I mean, that just really hit home with me. And I am just so honored. It made me feel so, I don't even know how to, honored to be part of this company, that this is, I can't even tell you how I feel about it, because it's just, it was so amazing that kind of washed over. We all talked about it. LifeVantage is going to be the top network marketing company. There's no way it can't be. And there's nothing that compares to the culture we have created within this company and are privileged to be a part of. And it was represented by the people, by the LifeVantage. We saw lots of LifeVantage people there. And as a matter of fact, we sat right next to Greg Beaker, and Marcy and Donde Nettles were sitting just like a couple down from us. And it was just, the culture is incredible. So it was, I feel very privileged to have been there, and thank you. And I think that's all.
You know, and thinking about that too, I don't know if you guys saw it, that Sean Michelle Poe went to Rory's house, and they were approached by a man there that trains other or teaches other network marketing companies. And he came up to Michelle and talked about what a special company we are with our product. And just hearing you guys talk about, you know, your passion and your excitement is everything. And then, I mean, I've done that same thing when I've gone to this event. I want to know who they're with first. And sometimes it's hard to find it. Sometimes it's hard to find what company they're with. You got to dig. But think about that, though, you guys. Most of the people on those stages today are people with cosmetics or your average day vitamin, like, or oils, stuff you can get everywhere. So if they can do it, we certainly can do it. And this is a week where we get to be around the people we love the most. And I just would say to you guys, I was thinking about that before I got on this, you know, be the best listener in the room. Absolutely. But also be the most passionate, you know, listen and then say, why have I not told you about this? Or just come from your heart. Let go of the sales, let go of the perfect timing, and let your heart guide you throughout the weekend. And you sure don't do it around the dinner table. You know, don't find the right time, but let your heart guide you when you're talking to those people this weekend. And maybe it means too, look, I can't believe I haven't told you more about this. Like, we have to get you healthier. I can't believe you don't have all the information. Like, you have to have it. Now's not a good time, but we have to set up a time to talk. Just be forthright about that, because they need to know you know about this. And it doesn't mean they're going to say yes. We know that, right? But at least you've done your work in sharing with them something that is so important that even other people in other companies are talking about. It's just an obligation. And yes, you're right, Candy. We are so blessed and so fortunate to be a part of this. So thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, Doris, I see you skimming your notes, girlfriend.
You guys took all of my good stuff and talked about it. Okay, so one, it was pretty incredible. I didn't really know what to expect because obviously I'm kind of new at that. I hadn't been to one of those. So just being around all those people that were successful, and you just touched on it. They were top earners in their companies, but their companies didn't have like the science, the stuff we have. So it's like you look at them and you think these people did it with makeup. And you know, the Mary Kay lady was up there talking, and what did she say, guys? Super bad all day long. That was her she made us all, you know, recite that, right? Weren't you guys saying it with me? Colleen and Candy, Jeanette, super bad all day long. Super bad. Anyway, she's in Mary Kay. Okay, then there was another gal up there from Unique, and there's another guy up there from, I mean, there's all these makeup companies and these people are still killing it. So a couple things. On day 2, Eric, I'm gonna try and remember this from my notes here, but he made us write down our job, like write down what you do in one place, and then write down your network marketing business on the other side. And he said, one is the sun and one is the moon. When the sun comes out, the moon goes away, and vice versa. What do you think about most? Your brain serves whatever is primary. So, I mean, obviously for a lot of us, our job pays our bills right now. So it kind of is our primary, but we have to almost retrain ourselves to flip that, because my other note here, if I can find it, because it was interesting. He said, that's not it. Oh, so he had these pillars. So the first pillar he had was employing yourself. Treat this like a job, not like a business. And then he said, if you had to do what no one, if you had to do, it's what you do when no one is looking and watching that counts. It's what that makes the difference in your business. What if a camera crew was following you around 365 days a year? What would they see you doing? You know, so you have to be a tough boss on yourself and set high standards, because we all looked at ourselves and said, if I was my boss in network marketing, I would fire myself, because, you know, who's gonna pay me to go out and, how'd they put it, girls? Like, would you pay? Oh, so he said, if you could pay someone $1,000 a week and all they did was set up, you determine how many plans you want them to show for you. So I'm going to pay Colleen $1,000 a week, and I'm going to establish what I want her to do. And that's her only business plan, is to go out and do, he asked the crowd to do 10 plans a day, do 30 plans a week. What do you want them to do? And then he asked us to reflect that back on ourselves, whether, you know, were we employable or would we fire ourselves based on our efforts. And I mean, we all kind of looked at each other and said, we would be fired, because, you know, we haven't lived up to that, that level of potential, because we do tend to work it in the nooks and crannies, but it also takes, I don't know, we just let life take us away from really what's important. So, I mean, there was a ton of like good information I was trying to find, because like you run out of, like, every page is notes, but you run out of room on that page. So you have to go to another person's page. And so then you try to put your notes back together. You can't figure out what was what. But Candy kind of touched on a little bit too, but Eric Worre said most people, well, he gave the statistics, 100 distributors who join network marketing, 70% are consumers, they recruit 0 people. 20% are social enrollers, and they recruit 1 to 2. 5% are retailers and they recruit 3 to 5. 3% are recruiters, they recruit 6 to 9 in a lifetime, and 2% are super recruiters who recruit 10 or more, and they're responsible for that 70%. But he said most people don't finish what they start in anything, so accept the numbers as they are. Network marketing isn't perfect, but it's better. So, all those little, like, slap you upside the head moments were, very, eye-opening and, made us stop and look. And then the other thing I highlighted, it was all these things, and the last one was to win. It says, how much time are you willing to put in, become obsessed, passionate, and work while others are sleeping? How consistent am I? Find a way to stay consistent. 3, model success through mentors and balance. You have, 5-year increments, not a one day, because everybody, looks at and thinks, well, I haven't hit a successful part and it's been 2 days. So, 1, self-awareness. Where are the holes and the gaps and how do you fill them? 2, look for clarity, be totally clear of where you want this to be going. 3, continual and never ending learning. And then binary, which is winners and losers are in our business. You can't win unless you help someone else win. What we do really benefits others. So, and it goes back to our product again. We have something that nobody else has. So get out there. I told Colleen, we need to start Ubering from your house to my house, and then Uber to the village, and then Uber from there to there, because every time we got in the car, I was hitting up my Uber drivers. So, if I can't find people, I'm going to just get in the car and make them listen.
That's a good idea. Someone said that recently. They're like, ask an Uber driver what he does, because that is not their full-time job. That's their side hustle. And just the other day, Ryan Seacrest, I heard him on TV talking about side hustle.
Oh, wow.
That's a common phrase people are saying now too. So yeah, that's not a bad idea. Start Ubering, guys. Pay your pennies so you can Uber. Yes, Colleen. Were you going to say something?
Doris is the master of getting information, email and phone number. You should hear her spiel. It's amazing.
I got the spiel, but I got the follow-up.
We're working on that. But I'm not kidding. Every Uber or she was in the middle on her flight last night home. And guess what? She got the person on her right and the person on her left email and phone number. And the guy on the way down, on the flight down, and every Uber driver, she got their email and their phone.
I did.
It's awesome. I mean, and she was so natural, just very natural.
Well, thank you.
But the follow-up, yes, we're gonna. Does Miguel have his information, Doris?
No, but I've got to do that. I have to do that. He was excited.
Yes, you do.
This is funny. So we're in the last Uber ride, and Colleen looks at me and she says, "You want the front seat?" I was like, "Sure." So I get in the front seat. He's talking about his life and his wife and his this and his that, and you do this. And I'm going to find a new job. Anyway, blah blah blah. So I said, well, if I had something that I could maybe help you, make some money, help your wife with her health, whatever. I go, would you? And he looks at me and he goes, deliver packages. He started laughing. I go, no, it's totally legal. I'm not asking you to deliver packages.
Poor guy. Aww.
It was funny.
Sad that the first place his mind went.
Yeah. Well, he was Hispanic and he was from Mexico. So he probably thought, oh, gee, she wants me to take packages across the border.
Oh, my word.
It was funny. But he was excited. And he said, oh, my wife has this. If you help my wife, I go, you'll be my biggest cheerleader. He's like, oh, yes.
Aww.
Anyway, it was funny.
Awesome. I'm so glad you went. Thanks for sharing, Doris.
Oh, yes.
And those statistics are insane. Like, everyone think of that. Like, when it sucks and you're not moving along, everyone on the Zoom tonight is in that top 5%. Like, that's top 5% people of the entire population, right? Mm-hmm. Like, hold your head high. You are smart. That's huge. Oh my gosh. Dries, if you would post those statistics on Team Act, I would love that.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Thank you. All right, we're going to head over to Miss Jeanette Palmer. She was there this weekend as well. I can't unmute you. Oh, there we go. I got you unmuted, sweetie. Let's hear it.
I'm unmuted. Whew, okay. Wow, you guys took everything from me. Actually, there was so much information. And I think for me, I kind of jumbled everything together. And in the sense of, being in the industry for the last 4 years, being in LifeVantage for the last 4 years. And we always, our whys. Our whys are such a big deal. And I don't know about you guys, mine's changed so many times. Like it's gone from here to here to here to here. And then sometimes it goes back down. And one of the things, and it was Tony Robbins, he was talking about how we should stop putting our whys on money type objects. It really needs to be about people. And that hit me pretty hard because I changed my why, and I kind of did it as a stinker too, because I would talk about wanting to retire my husband and bring him home and all these things. And then we would be out with our friends and we'd be talking and he'd be like, yeah, I'll be working for the rest of my life. And then we'd get in the car and I'd be like, are you freaking kidding me? Like every time we go out, you say those things. It makes me feel horrible. So I took him off my why. I said, you're a jerk. And I literally erased him off my whiteboard in our room. And he's gone off my why. so, and it was more things that were like, build our dream home and, things like that. And those things are great and those things are fun. But if you think about it, and Candy and I talked about this on our way home. We had just a little drive home last night. And we talked about this on our way home last night, like that psychological thing that we think of. Getting out of debt. How many of you have your why being completely debt free, right? I think every one of us have that, but we've all have debt right now. And so if you don't get out of debt and you're not debt free, where's the emotion to it? Really, you're kind of like, yeah, I've always been here. I'll try again next year. So to actually attach an emotion in a person and something, and he even said, do a charity, do something that's meaningful to you, something that's going to pull at you to make you want to go that extra mile. And so I started thinking about that a lot because when I started the business and then I decided to do the business and then I hit Pro 5, my race to Pro 5 was my daughters. It was being home. It was not having to get up and go to work and having to take time off so I can go to their Christmas programs and, things like that. My why was I needed to be that stay-at-home mom because that's what I've always wanted to do and I always desired to do. So I had this person, this attachment, this emotion behind that. And so when Tony talked about that, it just literally killed me because a lot of reasons. I mean, this weekend, you guys, I got the worst news ever. The day before I left to Vegas and while I was in Vegas. And I had to push all these emotions and all these feelings and all these tears that I wanted to have down so deep because I wanted to be present and I wanted to be a part of. And the awesome part was I was at an event where I'm being inspired and I'm having people just feed me and feed my soul. And all I kept thinking about was, what more can I do? And every single person who stood on stage, their reason for what they did had an emotional attachment to it. My parents, I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now, but he wrote the book Beach Money, and he was talking about like his parents were his biggest supporters and he wanted to do so much for them. And so that was a big why for him. And others were talking about like they had pictures with mom and dad up there. And this is what my mom and dad did for me. And Brandon, I don't remember his last name either, you guys, but his was an attachment to his family. And he showed a picture of him and his home and how poor they were growing up and all these things. And there was an emotional attachment to why he wanted to do what he had to do. And so for me, I got home, actually, even, you know, Candy and I talked about it, but I got home today and I spent a lot of time in prayer because I needed to be for what's going on. I spent a lot of time reflecting on what I need this business to do for my life emotionally. Where's that emotional attachment to it? Because my husband's always going to work. He's not a type of guy. I think any woman on here probably knows that about their husbands, right? He's probably always going to do something, and that's okay. But I don't want him to always feel like he has to do something. I want him to feel like he can say no to a job. And, you know, the other emotional attachments are, I want to give back. There's a lot going on in a friend of mine's life, and I want to give back to her. I may possibly need to give back to her and her family, and I want that so badly. So I guess for me, that emotional attachment, and also, okay, so Pitbull, amazing. And one of the things I love that he said, he was like, quote, 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 and they were like quotes we've never heard of, you guys. Like, rappers are awesome. They have great quotes. But one of them I absolutely loved was, he says, the sky's not the limit. There's footprints on the moon. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so freaking phenomenal. You guys, the sky isn't the limit. We have so much more than that. So much more. And then, the other one was, and again, it has to do with more of that emotion. He said, money doesn't buy happiness. He says, people say that all the time. He says, yes, it does. You just have to give the money away. And I love that, because that's exactly it. Money doesn't. It does buy us happiness, guys. It's going to give us those things. But if we give it away, we're going to be so much happier, and we're going to feel so much more fulfilled and better. And, I mean, think about how you feel when you give to, you know, that little Christmas tree ornament, you know, on Christmas, when you take that ornament and you and your family go and buy something for a kid, and you know you're just giving away. Think about the scale. Think about how big it could be, you know, with the money that we could have. Think about that emotional attachment that you can put to that. So, you know, and then, of course, we had so much fun. The last thing I'll just say real quick is they talked about promoting events, and you need to promote events, but you need to promote events within your events. And we heard that multiple times, and we were talking as a team. And so now I'm like, okay, guys, let's like start formulating a plan for Indy. Like, we got to plan an event within the event. So like we talked about when we went to Salt Lake, we all did the escape room. That's something we will, as a team, always love and cherish. And remember, we have pictures, we have stories. It was fun. It was exciting. Vegas, we just all went ziplining, and it was exciting and it was fun. And we walked the streets of Vegas. That was a little different. But it was still fun, and there was something there within that. So within our event, we got to create a little event that as a team, we have a little bit more of that attachment with one another, and we laugh and we talk about it, and it just builds that community and that camaraderie. So anyways, yeah, it was phenomenal. So
awesome. Thank you for sharing, Jeanette. I appreciate it. Thanks for jumping on. I just want to say to you guys, oh, now I can't. Shit. I was so strong this whole call. Anyway, maybe we should just end the call. I have these lessons I want to share with you guys through just stuff that we're going through. Oh, jeez. Sucks. So, it just has to do with like, this business. And even when, here's what I've learned, like, we're all going to go through really hard times, and it's never going to be at the right time. But through those hard times, like, I can see so easily how someone could take something that has brought them down and stay there. And stay there because it's just easier, right? I'm getting sympathy here. I'm getting empathy here. People feel bad for me. They're making me feel loved. I'm just going to stay here and be complacent in this. I can so see how people would get stuck in that. But here's the thing. When you go through something hard in life, it's a test. Like, it's a test. And it's a test whether it's like you're Rocky and you're in that ring and you've got the Russian dude beating the crap out of you, right? And when he takes that last blow and you fall on that mat, you can either stay there and look around and have people weeping for you and ready to take you out of the ring, or you can get up and say, you know what, I'm not done. I am not done. And that's what the test is for. And if you choose that, if you choose to say, I'm not done, you will see these amazing lessons that will come into your life. And I have to tell you, like, what we're dealing with and the support that we've gotten, for one, I feel like this experience that Kyle and I are going through would look so different did we not have our church and Life Vantage on the front end of it, right? Like, Colleen was there for me that day. I was like, no, I'm fine. And thank God she was with me, right? And then other people, there have been 2 other people in our business that are not growing this business, but that have been very instrumental in helping us. And I don't know what it would be like had we not been able to call on them, or had they not said they would be there for us. We just can't take this for granted. Everything you do, every word you say, every gesture you make to everyone around you will come back to you. And if you live your life right and you treat people kind and you show them grace, when you have a tough time, they're going to show you grace right back. And sometimes it's flipping hard to receive it. It's hard to receive it. But it does, like Jeanette was saying too, it just makes you want to do more. It makes you want to give more. And our situation, I don't know what lies ahead. I have no idea. But the lessons I've already learned and the way that we've been treated, the grace that we have received, it just fulfills me so much. And it would have been so easy for me to say, Jeanette, will you take the call tonight? It would have been so easy for me. Like, there was a day last week where I was like, I don't want to hear it's going to be okay. I don't want to hear it's going to be all right. I just want to be sad, okay? Don't tell me it's going to be okay, because you don't know my situation, right? And it's okay to allow ourselves to have that, but we can't stay in it. And so when it's hard and when you don't want to plug in, or you don't want to show up to something, or you don't want to go to a home meeting, do it anyway. It's there for a reason. There is so much that we are here to learn through this business. And it is the relationships first and foremost, because those are the things that are going to pay you back when life takes you down and you need it the most. But more importantly, it's who you become through it. And you guys, the fact that you're on tonight, the fact that you've been in, everybody's been in this for at least a year, like, you have to keep going. You are the 5%ers, and there are people that are going to need this opportunity when life hits them hard. And maybe that's a mindset that we should have. You are giving them a community of love for when life goes wrong, right? Take the product and be a part of us, because when life hits, you're going to want us around, right? Maybe build the business in the meantime. Like, that's a huge thing for people. They need that today. So anyway, I just thank you guys for all of the support that you've given us. I am not going to let it take me down. As hard as it is sometimes, I'm going to continue to plug in, to continue to move forward, because I have to. I'm not going to let the enemy take me down. I'm not going to lay on the mat. I'm going to get up. I'm going to fight like hell, and I will continue to move forward, just as I intend for the rest of you to do the same. So I am here for you. Again, anyone that's going after that Pro 3 frenzy, let's do some Zooms. Let's make this happen. These are the 2 months. The next oh my gosh, the next month and a half in 2017, where did it go? That will plant the seeds for the new year. And like we heard tonight too, it's what you do when no one is watching that counts. It's how you work when no one else is working that counts. People, the right people, they're always looking. It doesn't matter the time or the day or the holiday. They're always looking. So just be on the lookout for them, because we get around more people than ever around this time of year. So, okay. So with that, I love you guys. And thanks for coming on tonight. Thanks everybody for sharing. And have a wonderful evening. I love you guys. Good night.